everybody. It's the American Doofus Show. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. Don't be a doofus. You can email me, americandoofus@gmail.com. You can go to the American Doofus page on Facebook and send me a message there. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And of course, please click the like button on the video. It makes a difference in algorithms and how the video is shared, things like that. So thank you all very much for being here and checking out the American Doofus Weekly Wrap. We do this every Sunday, kind of wrap up what's happened the previous week and take a look at what's coming ahead. The past week we were focused on Louisville and made it through Louisville safely, surprisingly to me, but thankfully that there were no incidents during the day yesterday, September the 5th. As far as what's coming up in the coming week, we're still gonna be talking about it. We've got some guests lined up, and I'm working on some other guests, and we're going to look at different aspects of things that happened and didn't happen in Louisville. One thing that didn't happen, there was a national call out for anarchists to burn every city in the U.S. yesterday, and thankfully that didn't happen. Not as many anarchists as some had previously thought, thankfully. Antifa didn't show a significant presence, if any presence at all, in Louisville yesterday. And those were two things I hadn't talked about previously when looking back on yesterday. So I wanted to bring those up right off the bat. And there is a difference. Not all Antifa are anarchists. They are Antifa, anti-fascist, against basically the Nazis in Nazi Germany. The Italians under Mussolini during the Second World War were fascists, and the Antifa grew out of German resistance to Hitler and the Nazis, and so that's a little bit of history as where that term came from. Anarchists, they just want chaos. They just want mob rule, basically. My big concern as we do the weekly wrap, my big concern last week was who's going to want to be a hero? Who's going to say, screw it, and I'm going to kill somebody, and takes that first shot that sets everything off. Fortunately, that didn't happen, and that was my biggest concern during the day. Anarchy with the national call out was my biggest concern at night, and again, thankfully, neither one of those happened. I want to touch on the Angry Viking for just a minute. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he found himself in a situation he wasn't expecting to be in, and hopefully I'm going to have Dave Blackford back on tomorrow, and Dave sent me a small video clip that he said this was very profound, and it indeed is profound, and we'll play that tomorrow, and if we can work things out with Dave, and if not, we'll play it as soon as we can. Because it says a lot about human communication. I'm just gonna say that. And the video clip comes from Maxwell Mitchell, and if you watch the program, you know how I feel about Maxwell Mitchell, an incredible live streamer. During the 2 days that there was tear gas deployed, he was his focus was on his fellow human beings, and an incredibly talented person. And I'm hoping to have Maxwell on very soon. The Angry Viking, as I said, I think he just he found himself in a position he wasn't expecting to be in, and I applaud his behavior. Um, Things could have gotten really ugly in downtown Louisville yesterday if you were watching the live, and it didn't. And I think it was in large part to the citizens of Louisville who um, have been peaceful. That you get downtown Louisville, and if you watch the media, you expect it to be a war zone. You get downtown Louisville, and it's there are flowers. It's beautiful. The buildings are boarded up, and they've been boarded up for 103 days in anticipation that there might be rioting. The boards are still there, but there's nothing destroyed or burnt down or anything in Louisville, at least as of this recording. I expected from the white militia, I expected a white militia basically, and what it seemed like was just a bunch of guys off the internet, and there were some obvious military people in that formation, former military people, I'm assuming, and there were a few people that seemed a little bit more prepared, let's say, than others. As far as they're going to come down and show NFAC how to do it, in my opinion, no, that's not what happened. And I don't think the Angry Viking is a racist per se. As I said, if he had been, there would have been a bloodbath yesterday, because when he led the group through the dump truck barricades and confronted the protesters, or were confronted by protesters, whichever perspective you may have, he handled it as probably as well as anyone could have. So again, I've got to give him individually kudos, but some of the people that were there with him, I've got to say, shame on you. Chanting USA, USA, USA like you're at an Olympic hockey game against Canada or something, and you want to love your country. And then you see the protesters who've been there night and day in Breonna Taylor Park, literally night and day for 103 days. And they've been protesting mostly peaceful, and most of the time they obey the police. They're out there night and day for justice. How much freaking more American can you be than to be out there night and day for justice? That's what America's about. That's what protests are about. Not giving up. Continuing until you get what you're fighting for. Fighting peacefully for. Fighting with resistance for. But it's not the way a lot of white people look at it. And you white people that are always chanting USA, USA, like you are American. You are American, but you're not America. It's okay if you're proud to be American, but that's not what it's about. Whether it be the LGBTQ plus community, the black community, the Hispanic community, anybody that doesn't look like you and think like you, even if they look like you don't consider American. That's just ugly. And while you think you're the best in America, what you do is the worst part of America. You confuse patriotism with racism, and they're two very different things. Now, chances are the majority of you watching that doesn't That doesn't include you. You're not like that. But you know people who are. And they need to get this message that, it's not okay. And what business is it of yours what people in Louisville do if you don't live in Louisville? Just a thought. It's the American Doofus Show. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. We've got a big week ahead. I hope you'll check out the episodes, that you'll subscribe, that you'll like the page, and I surely hope you take care of each other, take care of yourselves. It can be a lonely world. Reach out to somebody. Be a light. Be a light. Love you all. Till next time, don't be a doofus.